What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on D's Analysis. We're going to be checking out MSTR and Bitcoin today. MSTR is currently sitting at 195.42. We have 3 days and 19 hours left for the week to close. On the daily, we did close right at this 195.4 mark. We were talking about in the last video how if we were to close underneath this structure, of course, look for the retest and continuation down, but we'll see if we even get the retest. It looks like it caught so much momentum that we just started to fall down further. And we were talking about a clean move potentially. In the last video, we were saying that we're comparing this region over here to this region over here because of the possibility of having that clean move to the downside. Not much traffic going on, and it looks pretty similar to this. And that's pretty much what we got. When we take a look here, once we broke that, we fell all the way down to 189, almost down to the mark that we talked about in the last video, which was 183, around that area. Still can happen, of course. Obviously, MSTR is not the only thing that's dropping. The whole market has been bleeding, but MSTR has already been preceding Bitcoin's downfall. As it always does, it typically precedes the run up and the downfall as well. We'll talk about Bitcoin in a little bit here as well. But yeah, still have the same viewpoint as before. We were saying that it increases the odds of touching the structure once we fall underneath this structure here and hold the retest. And it looks like we're potentially going to get that next move. If we were to fall, then the next structure that we're going to be looking at, it would be the same concept. There's pretty much a clean move to this downside over here as well. So we'd be looking for that break, potential retest, and potentially finding a bounce and support at this downward sloping trend line and this key support that was resistance prior in 2021. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that. I'll keep you guys posted, of course. But right now, it is looking like the momentum is just continuing to the downside. You know, we talked about this multiple times already. I hate to be the guy that, is just, I sound bearish all the time because I'm not really bearish all the time, but I just have to point out these facts of what I see and stuff. And we were talking about this 2021 top. I mean, come on, this thing is identical, man. Almost the exact same thing. And if I do it again and I actually go to the bottom, let's see what that projection, it doesn't have to be exact, but somewhere in this ballpark, right? Let's see. If we were to play with it a little bit, maybe we end up, running down to $100. I don't know. It all depends. I have no idea how low this thing can go. But of course, if you look at the last cycle from the peak, MSTR dropped about 90% last cycle. So it's a much larger market cap now. So I would say that that's probably not going to happen, 90%. But let's say 75 takes you down there. 80% takes us to about 100. So I could see something like that potentially happening, maybe worst case. And honestly, even if it falls this far, if you have a long-term mindset, you're more than likely going to be okay. Even let's say this cycle's over, right? And there's a strong chance that it could be, right? Let's say we get another push up and then we fall down. Honestly, it could just be another accumulation phase for the next cycle, because these run-ups will continue to happen. They keep accumulating Bitcoin, so it's going to be tied to Bitcoin. So this same piece that happened over here just happened over here, and I'm sure it will more than likely happen again after the downfall. We will see that next run-up for MSTR. I'm sure it'll, if I were to project like the next 4 years or something like that, and I have no idea. I'm just a random guy that's just talking to you on YouTube. So don't take anything as financial advice or saying I'm trying to predict anything. I'm just giving you a random idea. Let's say we do drop 80%. We drop all the way down to 100, right? With time, as Bitcoin starts to increase, we're going to see a move like this. And then it's going to repeat, rinse and repeat. We'll probably see something similar where we get a blow off top on MSTR, and it'll be a rinse and repeat. And that's just going to be more than likely how MSTR moves from here on out, where it just front runs Bitcoin to the upside and to the downside. And it's something that we could probably expect coming out. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. So you can see how that run up happened after pretty much December 2022. How we just had a steep climb. We had our first run up like that, and then we had that major, I guess you could say this would be it. I guess there was three angles that it took. So it really took like those three angles. This first one here, the second one, and then that major blow off top. So I'm sure we'll probably see something like that again in a larger form potentially. It happened here, but on a very, very small scale. You can see over a shorter period of time, 3 weeks here, 3 weeks chop here. And you can see the chops here were much larger. So that's more than likely going to be how it plays out in the future, where it starts to get a little bit longer. As the market cap increases, the moves will slowly diminish, just like Bitcoin. But this was a major move from the bottom. Obviously, saying you bought the bottom, which is very hard to do. But you can see that it ran up 40x. So that's pretty insane. Even if you bought, over here. So within the dip, let's see, so it dropped 90%. Let's say you bought it when it was down 75%. So you're buying at like 31, 32 bucks. You still made 15 to 1600%. It's not the end of the world. If it does drop to 100 bucks, you might be able to get a good position and ride up this next move to wherever this thing goes. I don't know how high it's going. Maybe it goes up to 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, who knows? Maybe even higher. Now on Bitcoin, we don't know what is going to happen, right? But we do have this previous data that we have here, and we have seen the bottoms touch here at these channels. So if you were to split these moves into two, you can see how they're practically the exact same move, which we talked about before. They're practically the same move, just in different time periods. They're the same move. One is shorter, one is longer. So you had your move up, your fall back down, you pushed up to the midline, and then you fell right back down to the bottom of the channel. So let me actually add another one here. So you ran up to the top of the channel. So from bottom to top, top to bottom, bottom to middle, middle back to the bottom. So you can see that pattern. And I'll just put the arrows, and then I'll move it so you can see exactly what I'm saying. So this same structure has happened yet again, and I'm just going to adjust it so you can see. But I'm not changing anything. I'm just going to adjust so it lines up more. But you can see that maybe this is exactly what we're seeing here. The same exact thing that we saw prior. It just looks a little bit different, but it's the same exact concept. Where we had the run up from bottom to top, top back to the bottom, from the bottom of the channel to the middle, middle back to the bottom. So maybe the next move after, who knows, let's say bear market theoretically doesn't have to happen. I don't really care if there's a bear market or not. I'll just continue to accumulate, so it's not that big of a deal. You're just buying things at a discount, so that's how you should be looking at it anyways. So if you do see that, maybe the next move that we see is the next run up, and we get our major move that we were anticipating after a downfall. So if we were to touch the bottom of the channel theoretically, depending on when it happens, if it were to happen December, you're talking about 54,000 all the way out to May, 64,000. Depending, it all depends on when it touches. But it's just a hypothetical example. It does not have to play out, but maybe that's where we get our touch up top. Maybe we get our touch after that downfall. So we'll be watching that, of course, for the next however many years, because that's just what we do on this channel in general. We're just talking about MSTR and Bitcoin, really. I'm still, buying other things at the moment. This is kind of what I can see playing out. And to piggyback off of that, when you take a look here at the weekly, we have seen a period where when we fall underneath this 50-week moving average, which is the yellow and pink line, you tend to see your bear markets happen. Once you have like 2 or 3 candles closing back underneath it, you tend to get your major downside. Not saying that that's always the case, but it does happen. So you can see here we got faked out a little bit, but once we did fall back underneath it and got the solid hold, we made a pretty solid move to the downside. We had it over here in 22 as well. We came to retest it and then we fell down. And right now we just fell underneath that yellow and pink, which is a 50-week moving average. So what if we, maybe chop a little bit, then we come back to test the 50-week moving average, and then we begin our descent. Not saying that that's going to happen. I don't want to be the bearish guy or whatever, but just a possibility. And honestly, it's an opportunity to accumulate, so you shouldn't be too worried about it. But when you look at the 200-week, you can see when we get close to making contact, those are great opportunities for buying. Even when we continue to fall further down, even you see we fell to 15,000, but if you would have bought once we touched it, you're buying at 22K. Even if you bought over here, it's 27. So once you start getting close to that 200-week moving average, that's a crazy opportunity, which actually coincides with this bottom over here of this channel. So something to take into consideration. And what's actually crazy is that bottom with the 200-week moving average and the bottom of this entire channel lines up perfectly with this downward sloping trend line that was established over here in 24. You can see that we broke out of. So that would be pretty crazy if we actually made contact with that trend line, this upward sloping channel, and the 200-week moving average. That would be major confluence, and I would expect price to absolutely skyrocket from this point, like instantly. But yeah, I think this is a time to accumulate. Who knows? It could push up to 150K before having its descent. So either way, we're going to see a bear market. It's just a matter of if we see a new high before that, or if we already have started our top right now. Either way, it shouldn't matter to you. You should be accumulating little by little, piece by piece, year after year, every single paycheck, DCAing into it. I think that's the best way to do it if you actually want to build wealth. If you want to day trade, you can, but you open yourself up to a lot more emotions and mistakes that you can be making. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.